against any snow and minus whatever we used to have in December. So today we are here to support Monsieur on his journey to get his next job. So a bit about myself. I'm from Cameroon. I speak French first. So if you spot some accent in my talk, that's why. Spent about 15 years in supply chain between procurement, project management, logistics, warehousing, distribution, and recently went back into procurement. My background is economics, project management, SCMP, PMP, Green Belt in Six Sigma. So I'm happy today to provide a bit of advice or feedback that I may have and feel very comfortable. We'll try to make it a smooth journey, but it's not always the case. You might have a different panelist, so just be aware of that. Remy, if you want to introduce yourself before we jump in.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Remileko Obadino. I work with the city of Winnipeg as a supervisor of store, and I've been in the supply chain industry over 20 years, which I cover all the supply chain aspects. My background is chemical to petrochemical engineering, and I'm a professional in supply chain and a project management. So I'm here also to learn from others and to be able to showcase my skill with others as well. Thank you.
Perfect. So I see we have Emmanuel on the panel as well, Abiodun. Is he part of the, Emmanuel
no.
Bokodo?
No. Emmanuel is okay. Observing, yeah.
It sounds good then. So the first question I'll have for you, Mansour, is can you talk about yourself? Help us to know you better in like 2 to 3 minutes. You are on mute.
Thank you, the panelists. My name is Mansour Bouchard. I bring with me 15 years of experience in supply chain management. Within the years of my career, I've worked in different capacity, starting from warehouse assistant, operations assistant, procurement officer, logistics officer, procurement coordinator, supply chain coordinator, and my last the designation and procurement manager. I was responsible for procurement operations, innovations, and system strengthening in supply chain department. Among my functions are supplier relationship management, strategic sourcing, cost reduction, ensuring and achieving timely delivery from suppliers, lean and agile procurement. I've conducted and managed supplier evaluation and selection, supplier categorization, conducted market research to identify potential sources of supply, supplier categorization, order and contractual negotiation to ensure smooth operation of procurement. The panelists and Ma permits me to mention that last year in 2023, I achieved 28% of my 25% cost saving target by ensuring improvement in my supplier relationship management, which also turned in reducing quality issue by 18% and improved timely delivery from suppliers by 75%. By experience, I'm multi-skilled, multitasking within a team working environment. This has helped me to add value to my employers and has helped procurement departments to meet the organization and customers' needs in an effective manner. My role as a contractual authority allows me to balance service delivery with expected outcomes, ensuring value for money while maintaining focus on sustainability. To complement my experience, I'm a graduate of the Business Management Studies, and I hold an MBA in Supply Chain Management. Also with this, I've written several professional exams, and I've, in April, just concluded an exam with CITT, Canada Institute of Transport and Traffic, where I learned so much about all aspects of logistics as its impact and how it is done here in Canada. All this, I believe, comes in handy in managing the position of procurement specialist in any organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Monso, for that extensive presentation. So you touched up on your skills, your experience, your designations, and sometimes it could be good to give about a bit of your personal. So are you what do you like? Do you do golfing? Do you do basketball? Maybe you are a dad. Sometimes that first question that you are asked is to build a relationship with your audience, with the panel, is to connect, and that connection will help smooth out the interview. Otherwise, everything will be straight to like business, business, business. But people do business with people because they have an acquaintance, they have a bond, they have something that they can relate to, they can discuss about outside of just like the putting POs, expediting, and financial report and everything. So it could be a double-edged side, but from my experience, it has been working. So also always think about throwing a bit of that aspect at the end of your presentation. Aside from that, you did very well. Maybe try to shorten your introduction because you went over like 5 minutes, give or take. Just pick the key points and let the panelists ask you more questions. If you give everything at once, don't give room for Q&A, which is the purpose of a conversation. Remy, you can, do you have any feedback for Mansour?
Yes, just to echo what you said, you have to be brief. You don't need to give us spend much time on when you're introducing yourself, because the interviewer just want to get the key points about you, your education, your achievement. Like you mentioned that you save 33% for cost saving for your company, which is a good one. You know, to tell us your skill as a specialist, what skill are you bringing in to the company? Then at the same time, you have to let us know the software you are using. As a specialist, you have a software. Maybe it's Ariba, SAP, or PeopleSoft. You need to mention that. And then the soft skill also, it will help. So, and as Katja said, you have to reduce, we call it elevator speech, maybe between 1 to 2 minutes is okay. So just to wrap it up. Thank you.
That's necessary. Thanks.
Some awesome feedback, Remy. So I'll ask a follow-up question before I hand it over to you, Remy. So I was looking through your resume, Mansour, and I would suggest maybe do a reading proof and spot any like typo that might appear there. If you look at in the accomplishment, you have procurement feedback. I have he actively managed and improved procurement customers. So probably either maybe it's not meant to be there. If you look at the second paragraph, ethical and with sustainable procurement and with sustainable are all together. That's maybe you're supposed to have some space in between. So need to really spend some time really, because what it tells that you might not be very detail oriented, which might be an issue if you are working in procurement. Okay, just a side feedback for you to consider. Okay, Remy, over to you.
Thank you. So the first question for Monzo is, can you describe your experience with the end-to-end procurement process?
Literally, procurement starts with identification of needs. When the business need is affirmed and approved by the management or the approving authority, then it comes with a requisition. When the requisition is submitted to procurement, is reviewed, and sourcing begins. Before we go out to sourcing, we also in procurement establish the contractual terms. In most cases, depends on our negotiation power or our what we have to offer in that contract. But however, solicitation goes out by sending out an RFQ to the potential suppliers. So upon receipt of requisitions, the submissions are reviewed. So it depends on the value and the organizational policy. Selection are made based on the best offer to the organization. In most cases, many organizations goes with the lowest price, but I always go with the best value for the organization. Selecting the vendor requires management approval and the issuance of a purchase order or contract. So depending on the types of items we are buying, is it a good or services? So selecting the vendor are rated based on their submission, considering various factors. So when they are selected, orders are placed or issued, and we in procurement also expedite with the vendor to ensure timely delivery. So upon the delivery are delivered to store or warehouse, also depends on the organizational policy on who receive what, and items are received. Before receive, the requesters are called upon to check the quality of the items to ensure that it meets their requirements. If it meets, then it is received and accepted. Otherwise, the items that have issues are humbly rejected to the vendor. So, but upon receipt, we make payment to the vendors, and also procurement does not finish on payment. Now begins with supplier relationship management, so as to put them on our database and to know their capability, and also to build future relationship with suppliers. For sure, procurement may not be able to deliver well without having quality suppliers. Thank you.
Okay,
Excellent. Oh, go ahead, Remy.
Okay, thank you for that. You've just talked about the process, which is good, but at the same time, you're supposed to give us the examples where you carry out this procurement process using STAR formats. You only told us the process, but you never identified to what you have done. Maybe you have any project that you have done using that process. You're supposed to mention it to us.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you still have the opportunity. I mean, you can go ahead and provide an example.
Okay, I will give an example of a time where I had to purchase like 15 vehicles. So what I did was to work with my manufacturer authorized dealers in country. We got their list from the manufacturers and sent out solicitation to them to give us cost and every other factors regarding the vehicle and various options that are available. We were open to get better options from them. So upon getting that, we set up the committee to review their solicitation to review their submissions. After reviewing their submission, we came out with 2 suppliers that could give us what we required based on their value and other value propositions that is in their submissions. So I further went ahead to negotiate some of those values, and the example of that was expanded warranty. Surely vehicle will have warranty, but I require an expanded so as to also cover us from spending on new vehicles. So I was able to achieve 5 years servicing free of charge, except when we have key parts that are not covered, spoiled. Like servicing parts are part of the warranty for 5 years, but we have just like fuel and the filter. But when other like brake pad depends on the speed the vehicle has covered or the kilometer. So we have some IR parts that are covered, and for 5 years we were not going to pay for those ones. Why we will pay for those that were not covered? So we issued the contract to 2 companies. For the 2 of them were giving us the same terms after the negotiation. For we also check what they have in stock in stock and when we require those vehicles. So that guided our decision to split the order to issue like I think about 10, 9, and 6 based on what they have available. Then we placed the order, took the delivery, but before the delivery is made, we conducted pre-delivery inspection to ensure what they are bringing to us met our requirements, considering that we are also in the same parts of the region that it was not so expensive for us to visit their site. So we took the delivery and pay for what we procured. Then we started engaging them on relationship and engaging them for further businesses based on our conducted procurement. So, but in the nutshell, this is one of the examples. But if I'm permitted, we can go on, bringing very many examples of procurement that we have done. But this is just one that I think stands out and is worthy of sharing with the team.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll have 2 follow-up questions on that. Was that a public entity you were working with or a private entity?
So it was a non-governmental.
Non-governmental, so it's private. And what is the procurement guidance or role? So I believe those 15 vehicles was worth quite some money. And usually with that amount, we'll look for a 3 bid at least before we issue the purchase order. But do you have that? Did you have that type of guidance? And if you did, why did you choose to go with only 2 suppliers, price check and offer versus 3?
Sorry, I didn't get one of your terms. You said the trailblaze. Can you?
No, I said usually when the amount is significant, we tend to go with 3 bids before we award the contract. But for this case, you went with 2. Can you explain us why 2 and not 3?
So what I said was, from the proposals we got, we selected 2 out of them. The bids we had were more than 2 or 3. But based on their submission after the evaluation and the review, we settled with 2. But the bids we got were more than 3 bids.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm happy. So anytime you have a chance, use the STAR format. And in this question, there's one word that was driving you toward a STAR format, the word experience. So she said, can you describe your experience with the end-to-end? So experience will have prompt you from using the STAR format. So the next question I have for you is, how do you ensure compliance with procurement policies and procedures. How do you ensure compliance with procurement policies and procedures?
Procurement, I always make my ensure my stakeholders understand that procurement is a process, and their needs require some activities to be done to be completed in a way that will be favorable to the organization. So what I proposed to my last organization was to inculcate procurement process into the HR onboarding process. And what that achieved for us was that every new staff coming in already have idea of what it takes for us to buy certain threshold of an item of a good service or works. It also gives them the opportunity to understand what procurement does, that procurement goes beyond submitting an RFQ, getting 3 quotes or 2 quotes, depending on the threshold, and getting item delivered. So we embedded procurement orientation into the HR onboarding process. And also for all the existing staff, we also organized procurement workshop. My proposition then was, first, if we cannot use the timing, then we should use the lunch. We call it, I think, lunch lunch and learn. At lunchtime, staff join the workshop. We canvas, we encourage them to do that, and we educate them on a quarterly basis on what procurement is all about and how we are to comply with our standard operating procedures. And also, we have a very large office. We also send procurement officers to other offices to conduct in-person procurement training for non-procurement staff, for them to have a bit of what we do. And with this, we got improvement in the way, in the psyche of our colleagues, the way they think about us, that selecting a supplier goes beyond pricing. So we also achieved early submission of procurement requests. And when there are urgent requirements, all of us, I mean, including procurement, will understand and help them to process them in a fast manner that the policy are approved. So training staff from onboarding process, and also reminding them by emails about our process, and also organizing a procurement workshop for them to understand what to do, really help us to get their cooperation and compliance in procurement process. 6 months down the line, we had an audit of procurement process, and no procurement issue was raised. We were adjudged to be compliant because we worked well with our stakeholders and everybody buys in to our processes. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for the answer. I was especially looking at the clarity of the procedure and policies, accessibility of those procedures and policies, probably on the SharePoint, on the old drive. Training, you mentioned that, maybe like a yearly review as well. And the audit was a big part of the answer. So overall, I think we covered everything. Yeah. Well done. Remy, do you have any feedback on that question?
Thank you, Bosu.
I think it covers everything as mentioned, but I'm just a little bit skeptical about the example he gave. Because as a procurement specialist, you're supposed to let us know what did you do, how did you do it, and what was your result. So I think that area still needs to improve on the example given.
Am I permitted to respond?
Yes, of course.
I thought I mentioned what we did by inculcating procurement training into HR onboarding process. And the result it gave to us that we recorded improvement in PR submissions. I'm not sure if that answered the question or I didn't cover it well.
So maybe it is about how you organize the information and how lengthy or short is your answer. If I was to answer this question, I have said when I was hired with my current company, I had a chance to be trained on what are the DAG delegation authority level, what is the threshold for me to cut a PO without a three-bid process, what is the threshold for me to have a contract written based on the amount or based on the type of product or services that I have acquired. I was also lucky to have like a 3 months training from my supervisor on how to go about those processes. And after 6 months, we had a mock audit happening where we had some like about PO not attached or quote missing, but that was very fast solved and corrected. And after the 9-month period, we had an official audit and we became compliant. So by saying that, I gave the whole thing with an example and really short. That was like 2 minutes done. I don't know if that helps.
Thank you. Yeah, it does.
Remy,
okay.
Do you want to? Oh, yeah, meet now.
Sorry, I said you've said it all. It's just like to add one or two things. When you are giving an example of what you did, you have to let us know what that situation is. And then what did you do? You have to, you have to do it. Say it what you did, not they. When you are saying they means that maybe you are there, but maybe you don't have any input. So just let us, okay, I was asked to buy 10 vehicles. Then what do you do in that process? I'm always putting all those logistic or transportation or procurement terms because they want to hear that from the interviewer want to hear from you. Like you mentioned, threshold, which is a good one. Both public and private, they use threshold, and which is supposed to be one of the procurement policy. What is the threshold? How did you go about the purchase? And what did you do? Because, okay, maybe you have a supplier or you have one of your users asking to procure maybe, what would I put it? Maybe a pen, and you have a policy, you have a threshold, maybe the threshold is, by purchasing between 0 to 999, they have to do it within their department, but this customer is coming to you based on the quantity, then what did you do? Or maybe after you send out the request for the proposal, and you have maybe 2 or 3 suppliers for that procurement, and the user is telling you that, oh no, I need supplier A, but based on the compliance and the process and the procedure for the procurement, you can't go with that supplier A that your customers, your users want you to go, because you have to be compliant with the process. So all those, you just put them and tell us then what did you do after that? How did you resolve that? So you now say, okay, at the end of the whole process, you're able to buy from the supplier that meets the requirements of your specifications and be able to deliver to the users. So you have to be put all those terms, and you have to also do it. Tell us that you are the one that did the process, not they. Thank you.
So two quick add before we go to the next question, Remy. Samuel made a comment. Was the policy only looking at the internal stakeholders? How about the external stakeholders? That's a very good question, because you're going to have the anti-corruption policy that probably refrains you from taking gift of a certain value from your suppliers. That's something that you can also bring out. Maybe for your first year, you had 6 suppliers who invited you for be a lunch or a show and tell, but you ensure that no gift or no lunch was above the $100 threshold, and you ensure that the main driver was the company's interest, right? So that is very, very important. So very good question, Samuel. And the last thing I wanted to add, when you give an example, it's okay to say that you had 1 or 2 failure for the first 1 or 2 months, but say it was a learning curve, but you learned very fast, you were able to achieve 100% compliance after that. So you have to be human, vulnerable, but also, showcase your strength. Okay, that's it for me, Remy. You can go on.
Okay. So the third question is, describe a time when you successfully negotiated a favorable contract with a supplier. Describe a time when you successfully negotiated a favorable contract with a supplier.
Post-COVID, I was requested to procure callers ringing tone from telecommunications in Nigeria to educate callers about COVID-19 and what they have to do and the likes. So I got across to telecommunications company in Nigeria at the time, and the three companies said they were not doing such, while only one red color agreed to proceed with us. That's the other companies could not submit because of some of the evaluation criteria that we put, that we also want to see that they also did such in their own capacity, like they are giving back to the community, their own CSR, and that will also give us the option that they are compatible with what we think about. So only one was able to proceed with us. So in negotiating the price, I proposed to the sales rep that we can only go with this price when their proposal was higher than that, considering the volume that we are buying. So I proposed we have a meeting, but the decision makers will be in that meeting. Believe you me, my supervisor advised me to proceed since we don't have time, and that they are the only one, considering that they are monopolistic in the nature for that. So, but I also advise that you should allow us to proceed with this, with the meeting. So something standing out for me was, I told the sales rep that I need the decision makers of Airtel then in the meeting, so that whatever we agree are not going to be re-evaluated in their own company, and that will delay our procurement process. So we brought them on board, and I was able to achieve the price that we proposed. So what stand out there was the initiative of bringing in the decision makers. For that meeting to be held, we have to reschedule for another 1 day, considering their also tight schedule. So I negotiated that, and we had it. So we had the jingle head out when the ringers call. It rang us. We also follow up to ensure that they did it. So the cost saving that we had was used to buy more of the services after a month, because we had so much money. I can't remember the value now, but it's worthy of issuing another huge contract. And that was a cost saving initiative of negotiating down the price, a volume-based price that gives us such cost savings. Thank you.
Carter, do you want to say something?
Yes. Two quick notes. very good example. Maybe I missed the dollar value of your contract, but it's usually good to put it into perspective. So the second thing, it's good to give example, but you don't have to say it was in Nigeria. Because you have been hired in Canada, and they will say, we need you to have experience, that Canadian experience. But I know for a fact that experience matters wherever you got it. But by saying it loud, you are putting yourself into a corner. Okay, so they say I had that experience, but that's it. You don't have to say it was in Nigeria. Now, contract, you win the contract by preparation. So I was expecting to have a bit more content on how you prepared your contract. What did you focus your preparation on? So you mentioned the price, but did you give up on something else? Usually, for you to have to keep the same price, you most likely have given up on something else. It's a trade-off. It's always a trade-off. So whenever you present a win, tell your audience, we accepted or we let go X, and because of X, Y, Z reason, and the price was more important to us. Now, one thing that I might be worried at an senior executive is if that person is the only one who was able to supply us, it means he's a sole source. And if he happens to know he's a sole source after a month, he might jack up the price, and you have no choice than accepting it because he's the only one who is able to supply you that, and it makes him a critical supplier. So with that type of example, always mention that you were working on an additional supplier outside of the country just to have a plan B and reduce the risk of your supply chain. So those are the couple of comments that I had, but overall, very good example.
Thank you, Pastor.
Yeah, thank you. I just have one or two things to add. As Katia said, as a specialist, they want to know the process you went through before you can negotiate or before you can, award a contract to a supplier. As he said, what type of sourcing do you use? Is it RFP? Is it RFI? What are the market research? Did you do any market research before you determine your strategic sourcing? So all those things as a specialist need to let us know what you did. Then after, what process do you use to do your sourcing? Is it a sole source, or did you publish your tender publicly, or you use internal tendering? All those things, you just have to keep it in. It's part of the process. Then after you get your bid, the evaluation which you mentioned, which is okay, you did the evaluation. Then what's the criteria your evaluation based on? So you have to learn: is it quality? Is it price? Is it the specification? All those things, just mention them, because those are the things that you will use as a criteria to evaluate suppliers. Then how many did you have? How did you how did you conclude in the supply you go with? So what is the negotiation power that you use? Is it a win-win negotiation, or so you need to let us know all those based on the example you are giving to us. So those are the way you just put it, so that your interviewer will understand that truly you understand the process and you're a specialist in procurement sector. So those are the things. Then after the evaluation, if it is RFP that you use for your sourcing, how did you do it? Because you cannot just evaluate the supplier. You have to have a consensus meeting with others, users, maybe your department, even the technical know-how, they have to be part of the meeting. So you have to mention how did you do the evaluation, how did you, before you now do your negotiation, then before awarding the contract. So all those is very, very important. So you could just add it to yourself when you are giving us. Tell us the process, because some of them you have the procurement manager that will be in the panel. You have HR, so HR they don't even understand your process. So you are the one teaching them what you know or what they don't know. So you just have to sell yourself, and all those terms. And when you talk about procurement, is very, very important. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Excellent. I'm currently working on a contract, and from the initial quote, I start asking questions, and there are some specifications that are add on the basic product. And I'm working with the SMEs, and by taking off those add-on that might not really add value to our end users, I might save like a 10% on the initial. And that is part of the negotiation, like asking questions, working collaboratively. And it only happens the pre-negotiation stage, preparation, and it's worth, like Kurumi said, to bring it up. Okay, my next question, or before I go to the next question, so Samuel made a comment about the percentage. Like you say, I mentioned 10%. I might not give you the dollar value. 10%, if you say 1 million, it's $100,000. If it's 100,000 PO value, it's $10,000. So a percentage can also be a very good KPI to share with your panel. Okay, sounds good. So the next question, how do you manage supplier relationship to maintain quality and performance? How do you manage supplier relationships to maintain quality? I'll say maintain or improve quality and performance.
So, thank you, Gofia. Basically, with my experience, I've in most of the cases used two instruments: quality control and quality assurance. Those are the two instruments I've always used to ensure quality from my suppliers. I had a requisition for a printing job, printing of my materials. As part of the evaluation, after we have selected all the send out an RFP, and that was the details, how the supplier or the printer intends to give us the quality printing, and it will also include their quality control processes. So after we have reviewed all the submission that we had, we have the supplier or the printer that we are to go with. So before the printing, we visited their office to see, to actually check what is their quality control, their own quality control, so as to assure our own quality at the time of delivery, that we are not going to have issues or misprinting in the box. So quality control and quality assurance, and the quality control is to avoid errors, while the assurance is to ensure that we don't have any issue in what they deliver to us. So we conducted, which I led the visitation of the due diligence to their factory to see what machines they have, how often are their machines serviced, at what level do they change their ink, so that we don't want to have a blood printing in one page. And also, what are the qualification of the printing staff, at least the senior level officers that will oversee the printing of our materials, because it was a high level printing that we shared. So we conducted with them quality control and quality assurance to ensure quality of what they print for us. And before the printing, we also approved sample of the printing, one sample that we sign off, and that sign off copy would be the one that we use to review with the technical requester at the point of receipt. So we use quality control and assurance, and also due diligence to ensure the control of the quality.
Okay, thank you for that. So quality control and quality assurance are at the center of your approach to ensure um, a successful business relationship with the supplier. What about communication? Just to my opinion, communication should be.
I think I missed the question. Sorry. I heard you mentioned quality with the suppliers, not the relationship.
So the question was, how do you manage supplier relationship to maintain quality and performance? So your end goal is quality and performance, but what we are more interested in is what do you use, what skills, what approach do you develop to get to that point? So communication should be key. You might have the best plan with your supplier. If it's not properly communicated and followed through, it will fail. So the second thing that I would have loved to understand is clarity on expectations. Your supplier can only deliver as good as he has clear expectations, which might turn into your supplier scorecard. Okay, so for you to evaluate the performance, you need to know what goes into the performance. Is it only the quality of the product? Is it the delivery time? Is it the responsiveness in case of an emergency? Is it response time when you send an RFQ out? How fast can it get back to you? Issues resolution. If you have been receiving discrepancies, how long did it take to fix those discrepancies? So that's the scorecard will help you to have clear expectations with your supplier. How often do you conduct your performance evaluation? That is very important to know as well. It every quarter, every 6 months, every year. So those details, and you can have it in like 3 to 4 minutes, but just is the sequence and the way you achieve that level of quality and performance was what will make me say, okay, you master your thing, come and join my team.
Do I have an opportunity to represent that? Or to add to, or I should just take comments from Remy?
Okay, can I say something?
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay, I just want to add to what Kata just mentioned because I have my notes here too, which I wrote down on time delivery, which you mentioned, then responsiveness, you mentioned it, then the communication, then also mention, and for my end to price, because when you talk of performance, your supplier, how do you rate your supplier performance? I think you have to have a key performance indicator matrices for your suppliers because different suppliers have different products that they do give to different companies. So based on what they are providing to you, you have to develop a key performance indicator. So that's one is going to help you to evaluate your suppliers on their performances on the product they are giving to you. So key performance indicator matrix is very, very important for you to evaluate your supplier when they're, you have to determine their performance. Then another thing is when you engage your supplier to manage your supplier to when you engage them early, maybe you have a new product that you want in the market, you need to engage them early to be part of your process so that they can give more insights, which will help you in your process. So those are the two and things I want to add. Thank you.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So I'll add one or two things, but first I will read. We have two questions in the chat. From Moraquino. Do you tie a default liability charge to the contract in case the supplier defaults? Okay. Do you tie a default liability charge to the contract in case the supplier defaults? So that's a technical question, and this probably goes back to the previous question on the contract. Just something to keep in mind. And usually that will happen if you have a service contract. It's very common to have a liability or a non-compliance from your service provider. What is the role of the user requester when checking the quality control during procurement? I don't know if you want to answer that question. What's the role of the user requester when checking the quality control during procurement?
The role of the requester is to review the proposal and ensure what we have on table conform to their technical or any other specification. While procurement may go on to check other terms like commercial terms, pricing, and the likes, but the role of the requester is to check the technical functionality, technical requirement, and conformance to their specification. And
Sounds
also
good.
to the first question about tagging the liability to contracts, yes, that does exist to contracts, and that is one way to also make the suppliers deliver according to the agreed terms and according terms. So at every contract, the penalties are attached, and that form part of the contract that are signed, not just the value, not just what they deliver in terms of goods, service, or works. Those terms are also part of the contractual agreement that are signed.
Sounds
and
good. Sounds good.
One example I can give to that, I worked somewhere where we noticed vendors only agreed to terms, proposed what they could not do. So we now introduced that clause that at every 1 day, 1% of your payment is charged. But before we do that, we call them to attention, educate them on the impact of their non-compliance to our operations. So through that, we were able to correct the anomaly, and we had a win-win and improved situation with our suppliers. Thank you.
All right. I love that short and sweet STAR format example. Very good. So two quick things before we move on. That example that you provided on the printing job, what was the nature of the business? What was the key function of the business, that company that you were working on?
Okay, the company where I made the example, I said I worked there in the developmental organization sector, where we had to print textbooks for STEAM.
Okay, sounds good. Okay,
so,
sounds
and it
good.
has to go through Ministry of Education and the likes.
Okay, beautiful. That means it was a strategic supplier, and that explained why you had to put all those effort. Excellent. I have the perfect answer I was looking for. And regarding the question of Luke on the requester and the quality, one thing that I might add is the quality starts with the clarity of requirements, the description, the specification. If the product or the service is clearly defined, it ensures a higher chance of getting the right product at the end, right? And that's like the thing I want to add. Before even we actually receive, we need to ensure that there's enough clarity and kind of clarity and enough details on what we are procuring. The next question, do you want to go with that, Remy?
Yep. Let me see. So okay. What strategies do you use to conduct market research and source new suppliers? What strategies do you use to conduct market research and source new suppliers?
So I had a requisition to procure NFI. That the meaning of NFI is non-food items, and we needed suppliers that will supply those in large quantity to different locations. What I did then was we have existing suppliers, but we intended to get new suppliers to have a robust process. So I use 6 approach: industry press. They have the industry press where they print the NFI. We got that some suppliers from those lists. I also went online to get also from our existing database. That's the number 3. We also get some suppliers from there. Also unsolicited solicitation that were submitted were also visited in the company. And we also get referrals from our professional colleagues in the same industry who are people that supply this. So that is the strategy I used to get new suppliers. In addition to now sending that out, then in terms of the pricing, right? The question is two, sorry.
Market research.
My market research said that now we went to market, we visited market. Part of my responsibility as procurement manager is to have market trend at my fingertips, to know what is obtainable in the market, what product is available, what are the specifications. I will visit market with my team on quarterly basis, with visiting our strategic customers. Then also to have the pricing, we will check the price in the market, my market pricing, then that's give us one factor. How much are our contemporary, our industry players, colleagues in the industry are buying those items, and how much was the proposal that we also get? So all those 3 factors guided us in determining our pricing with our suppliers. And with that, we were able to get new vendors. We were also able to get good pricing that at least they are judged as competitive and reasonable from our suppliers.
Okay, sounds good. I like all the strategies that you have provided. Very good. The only thing that I might have done is to organize them. So, because you trust your database first, your vendor approved, your preferred supplier. So you have that list already. That's the first place I will go in my system. Look at the previous purchase history. Have you purchased it before? First thing. Now, second thing that I might do is references. If I know a vendor who is in this industry, and I'm looking for something in the telecommunication, it's a good chance that he might have links. So I'm going to ask him for referrals. That will be my second one. Now, if I can't find anything there, now I can go into review, like publishing books or on a website, like somewhere like industry knowledge where I can go and pick those potential suppliers. If it doesn't work, now I go on online research. So you have everything for sure, but just think about organizing them in terms of what is the most valuable. And yeah, market research, I think you got it right. The only thing that I might have done is explain what I put into my market research. Is that only the price? Is it the location? Is it the ratings? Is there something else? So maybe on a panel, like Remy mentioned, you will have a procurement manager, you might have a director, you might also have an HR person and a logistic transportation manager who might not understand what is the market research. The more detail, very concise detail you put in, the higher chance you can have their buy-in when it comes to the decision of hiring you. Those were my couple of feedback, Remy. Anything from your side?
Yeah, you said it all. I think the another thing I just want to add to it is using the RFI. It helps you to get a potential supplier outside because you have it's one of the strategies that can use to get to source for a new suppliers. You have the product or the services that you want, but you don't have enough information. So you can use RFI to get a potential bidders or vendors from outside. So that's when you are putting your sourcing, your bidding tools together, you know which suppliers have given you what you want. And maybe adding more, one or two things for them to, for you to get it right. And as he said also, the gathering supplier, your internal data is very, very important. As Gata said, you have to know, has this been done before? How did they do it? Do you need to engage some stakeholders to help you, to help your findings? Then the market research, as you mentioned, what is in the market? And you have to consider other organizations too, maybe or governmental bodies or private bodies that have done such servicing or purchasing before. So all those things will help you to gather enough data for you to proceed in your sourcing. Thank you.
Excellent. And in terms of bodies that Remy mentioned, I'll invite you to do some digging. Like Supply Chain Canada, they have like a portal and they have a repository. You might, if you're looking internationally, maybe Epics might have some repository as well online. Maybe do some other research and show your hiring manager that you know where to go in Canada if you are looking for a certain type of supplier or product information. And you all depend on the company you're applying for. If you're in oil and gas, you need to know or maybe mention the petroleum, oil and gas power trade show. In Alberta, we have one or two every year. That is guaranteed. If you mention, you can go there to have some contact. If you are in agricultural industry, you might be in Saskatchewan or in Winnipeg. Identify some key area or repository or bodies where you're going to go and find information. Sometimes it's not about, do I know the information, but it's where can I get it? If you know where to get it, you have one. So we will be wrapping up at 11:30. So I want Remy to ask one more last question. Then we'll give you a chance to ask some questions as well. And if you have any other questions in the chat, we'll address them and give our final remark. So the last question I will ask is, why are you applying for this role? I see you have like a procurement manager experience, but why are you applying for a procurement specialist role? And why do you want to work for us?
Thank you, Puthia. I researched about companies that does this the same product or the same service that you rendered, and I appreciate how far you have gone about your processes, about the products and service that you dish out are very well cut out, and I wish to be part of the team. I read about your last report, and those strategies that were mentioned aligns like strategy of giving back to the community, sustainable procurement approach aligns with what I have special interest, and I'll be able to add to your value to your team.
Okay, thank you very much. What I like about your answer is that you were prepared. You knew what to answer, even if it was thrown on you unexpectedly. Maybe two things I might add, and sometimes we don't think about that as a job seeker. But hiring managers, they are looking for someone who can stay longer in the company, just in and out. So maybe look in your resume. If you see that you have been spending like 3 or 4 years on average in your previous roles, spot and check if they have some long, I'll say, long-time employees. Maybe you mentioned that you want somewhere where you can grow. It's one thing that in my question was you were a procurement manager and you want to apply for a lower role, procurement specialist. You have experience, but you might need a little bit of time to understand the whole local content. So you are willing to start there, learn, and fill in experience, grow with the company. If you're saying that you want to grow with the company, I know that if I invest in you, you might still be there in the next 3 to 5 years, and that might secure you position. That's the only thing that I may have added in your answer. Remy?
That's okay. I don't have anything to add.
Oh, okay. So, Monsieur, do you have any questions for us?
First, I'm not sure I have questions. I'm here to take feedback, and feedback are given as per all the questions. I'm fine, and I will only have take home to improve in my organization the way I respond to questions, to listen well, to get what the interviewer is saying. So I would say thank you for your feedback. Thank you.
Okay. I will let Remy follow up on your answer before I come back. I can see Abidin shaking his head there.
Yeah, Remy
Remy?
can go, and I will take it from there.
So you want me to summarize?
Or maybe a feedback on his answer, because my question was, do you have any question, Monsieur? And he gave us an answer. Do you have
Sorry,
any
the
feedback?
answer I gave was I thought we are done with the section. If it's still part of this session, I can frame my answer again.
That is part of
Yeah.
the
So
section.
yeah, it's still part of the segment. We expect that. Like I said in the beginning, this is a conversation. So
Yeah.
something probably might have come up, in the discussion, like you want to ask, just to check your curiosity as well. So it might not even be contextual to interview that we're having. It might actually be just something that came up in your mind during this conversation, and you might ask questions regarding that.
Okay, thank you. My question is, Gothia, based on the fact that the company is producing trailer items, so I want to ask, do we have, or do your company have plan to also be producing coaches for train? At least to expand in their operations?
That's a very good question. And it currently in our strategy, business strategy, we haven't looked at expanding into the trend segment. But that's there's never a closed door when it comes to expanding. But I'm really happy that you read about the company and that you are looking for the future milestones of the business.
When will I have feedback on when will I resume to the position?
So we usually have more candidates that we are interviewing currently. So typically it will take between 2 to 3 weeks to wrap things up and get back to you, whether or not you are the selected candidate.
Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. Any more questions? Any inquiry?
I think we could just provide feedback, and then we go to questions that we have in the chat box. We still have time.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So the one question that I may have asked was what keeps you awake at night? What is your pinpoint? Why do you need me on your team? What are you expecting after the first 30 to 60 days? That's a critical question. that you need to ask. They know that you want to come and produce value. You want to come and do a change. Okay. That's one question that you might ask. The other question you might ask is, are you opening a new position, or are you filling out the position? If you don't mind me asking, why did the previous person left? Because remember, as the company wants a cultural fit, you also want a company where you can wake up every morning and be happy to go to. So that question, it's not wrong at all. It it means that you know what you're looking for. So those are some questions that I recommend asking in the right way, and it speaks to the hiring manager and the executive level team. Uh, Abidun, any feedback from you?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, he did well in the interview. I think some areas where I thought maybe you could improve in is when you are answering question, try to provide a framework. You know, sometimes we tend to say our experience in a way that we thought every other person know about that thing. Now, they don't know anything about those things you're saying. They haven't had that experience with you. So you need to provide them a framework so that they can understand what that experience looks like. So the STAR framework is one, but then when the questions relates to a process, you also have to go beyond just the STAR framework. You need to give them, okay, the steps. So I think there was a question that Remy asked about, the process of procurement or something like that. You need to give them a social proof beyond just, oh, I did this, I did that. You need to give them that you really know the framework of that process, and then you use your experience to walk through that framework, giving them, okay, the things you did at each step, also providing examples along the way. That way, they would really have that conviction that this guy knows what he's talking about beyond just the fact that he had an experience. So that's one thing. But in terms of the questions, of course, yeah, you definitely need to ask questions. And I think Gautier provided some very important questions to ask during interviews. You want to ask questions that shows that you are really curious and then you're willing to work with them. In fact, one of the questions that I like to ask is to target the hiring manager, because like Gautier said, I want to know if this is a place that will be a good fit for me. Besides that, they also want me to be a good fit. So I want to ask a question targeting the hiring manager, like, okay, what are those things that made him to stay with this company for so long, and what are the things that keeps him awake to get going to this work every day for the last 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. So this way, you're not only just asking this person about their motivation, but you're also asking them about their own story. And people connect when it comes to this level of curiosity. If you came out of that interview, if this guy was ever going to remember the candidates, you will be the one he remembers. Remember, that is the guy that is going to make the decision on who to hire, right? So that's one thing I would say about that. Yeah, that's all I have in terms of that feedback. Yeah.
Very good. And when you are talking, you just remind me something. Sometime at the beginning of the interview, Mansur, the panel will ask you, do you have any questions before we start? And nowadays, they will send you an email and say, you're going to have an interview, and this is the panel. So you are supposed to do your research. I will go on LinkedIn, look at what is the experience of those persons. And when you meet them, when they open that window, straight up ask them, how long I've seen that you have been with the company for over like 10 years, which is impressive. What makes you stay that long in the company beyond the growth and opportunities? But you will only know that if you have spent some time doing your research after you receive the email inviting you for the interview. So it's really like a preparation. It's like a piece of work by itself. So Any final feedback, Remy?
Okay, you said it all, but the question is very, very important, at least minimum of 3. Question to ask the interviewer. Then I always do one thing at the end of the interview before they say bye-bye to me. I always say thank you to all of them, and also make sure you know their names, because at the beginning of the interview, they will tell you their names. So that when you are giving vote of thanks at the end of the interview, you mention their names and thank them. And what I also do is when I get home or back to my base, I always send a thank you note to them as well. Because as Secretary said, when they send the email they will send you for the interview, so not all of them, some of them they will give you the name of the interviewer in the email. Why some will not? But some, at least HR that reach out to you, you can send email to him, and I mean thank you note to the HR, then let him or her extend your appreciation to others. So that's what I do. Then another thing is still about the way you answer the question, the start format. You need to work on that. It's very, very important that you use a format so that you'll be able to, based on your experience, just tell them what you have done, how did you do it, and what was the result. It's very, very, because you are telling them the story, what they don't know, that's what you are telling them, so that they will know what you know. I mean, they will understand what you know that they don't even know. So that format is very, very important. And also make it brief as not as much as possible. Because by the time you too more, maybe you make it too lengthy, sometimes they will just lose the focus. They won't pay you attention again. So just as you are narrating your stories to them, make sure that you mention all those key points. And as a procurement specialist, you know that supply chain industry, they have their times. When you talk of logistics have their times. When you talk of procurement, they have their time. When you talk of operations, they have their times. And when you talk of transportation, they have their times. So all those times, make sure that you put it, and when you are giving them the story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very, very great feedback. So I will encourage you to probably spend a couple of minutes right after the call. I'm sure just go and copy some questions in the chat. I would like to thank Luke, Joel, Ayudoji for the questions, Martins as well, great questions asked. We also had Morakinho, Samuel. Very, very good questions asked there. Thank you everyone for your engagement. Thank you, Remy, for your time. I know you are multitasking there in Winnipeg. How have you done? As always, you are doing a great job for the community. So anyone there who feel that you can tip in, you can contribute or volunteer to moderate this type of mock interview, just reach out to Abiodun and we'll be happy to schedule you for the next mock interview. From my experience, this is a very volunteer-based initiative, and by adding value, you also gain, no doubt about it. Monsieur, I will say very well done. Build up on those feedback that you have received. Prepare for your next job interview, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks or months, we'll be celebrating your success. That's it for me. I'll hand it over back to you, Abidun, and you have a
Thank you,
wonderful weekend.
Gautier.
Thank
Yeah, I
you.
really appreciate providing that support today. Sometimes we, like Gautier had mentioned, we always need folks to volunteer. The Industry Connect is coming up, so those who are already volunteering with us know that we will be calling for a meeting soon so that we can quickly update the website and establish the date and all this other information, because this is also important for our sponsors when we're reaching out to sponsor our event. So we'll be calling out for those who would like to sponsor, and then we be scheduling the first session together hopefully by next Friday. So besides that, I think for those who have joined us, please don't hesitate to reach out if you have specific questions that concerns your career growth. Join us on some supplyjobs.ca, which is our platform. From there, we can bring you into the WhatsApp group. So don't hesitate to also share your LinkedIn URL so that people can connect with you here. I'll leave this for some minutes, so that people can use those links into connect with Remy, connect with Gautier, and keep the conversation going with whomever you connect with. It's very, very important. You never know who might have the information that will help you on your journey. And when we say journey, sometimes people think it's something that has to happen within the next 1 month, 2 months. It could be something that will happen for your entire lifetime. For example, Remy has been working with us right from the beginning of serial projects. So yeah, we create very important relationship here on our network. Don't take it for granted. Some of the people that you will meet here might end up being your boss. All right, or they might end up being your your teammate. So it will be great that you already have an ongoing relationship in that in that form. And this is what we call networking. It's about mutually adding value, and that keeps giving and taking and in a continuous fashion. So don't hesitate to connect and build that relationship. Well, on a final note, thanks everyone. Next week, Saturday, we hope to have a guest to be talking about something related to business analysis in supply chain. So hopefully we'll be able to get somebody. If not, we'll talk about data analytics. So thanks everybody. And again, I will leave this on for some minutes so that you can get all the links you can get. And catch you again on Saturday. And Remy, have a great weekend here and Masura as well. Thanks everybody for joining. I think I see Angela, your Didi. I hope that's the name. Elodie, Emme, Emmanuel, Luke, Martins, Mayu. I hope I got that name. Maraki or Samuel and the other Samuel. Thanks, guys. See you. Bye for now. Have a great weekend.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Remy.